Welcome to another episode of Beyond the Algorithm. And today, on the Grace of Men spot, we have none other than Jason Hairston. We're going to have a conversation today about men. It's time to be divisive. And this thought came to me from a Facebook post earlier today. Obviously, I had a thought before I even put it out there. And the thought was you can't have what you're supposed to have if you keep spreading yourself too thin over things that you can't control or that don't benefit you. So you have to divide up your time, you have to divide up your availability, you have to make yourself scarce in some arenas. And that comes down to conversations, your physical presence, and maybe just even your emotional presence for some people too. Because some people will pick up the phone and trauma dump on you and never pour back into your cup and leave you feeling drained. But before we go too far into that conversation, because I know it's going to materialize as we go, I would like to introduce Brother Jason Harrison to the platform, and I'm gonna give you the floor so you can speak to the audience, sir.
What's going on, bro? Thanks for having me. For those who don't know who I am, my name is Jason Hairston. I'm a spiritual teacher. I've been teaching for over a decade, but I'm slowly moving into a new position, which I call a healing artist, to where I'm going to use art and talk about music, TV shows, movies to put my messages out on a grander scale. So that's what I'm moving into now. And I'm looking at starting a new movement called the Heart Space Culture, which is based off of four principles: love, honor, integrity, and respect. And all of the art that I create will be under that umbrella of Heart Space Culture.
All right, man. All right. So let's let's dig into this conversation, right? I wanted to play that audio clip that you sent me, because it was, we was just brainstorming right away, trying to figure out, like how do we want this conversation to happen? And we've had a couple of conversations offline anyway,
Mhm.
right? And we've been looking for that point of connection to see how we can benefit each other's platforms and work together, right? And and I was like, man, that was a real moment that was absolutely, what I'm saying, as honest as it needed to be. So I'm gonna let this talk for a second, and then we'll pivot off of it.
I have literally tried to start little small communities several times with so called spiritual people. And over a whole decade of attempting to do this, I realized that, hold on, we claim we spiritual, but we truly don't have a foundational moral compass that we've all agreed on. We haven't agreed on any principles collectively that we uphold and protect and live by. Therefore, we can't come together because we're all basing how we interact off of our own individual idea of what we think is right and wrong. Until there's a collective moral principle structure that represents peace and harmony, there cannot be a sustainable community. And all these spiritual people want to sing kumbaya and think we're all one. We all are one energetically when it comes to being created by the creator. But when it comes to gathering to create sustainable communities, there needs to be a collective structure that's upheld and protected by those who choose to come together. And that structure has to be based on principles that help maintain order.
So that resonated with me because that's what I've been saying for years. In
Mhm.
fact, my first book, The Code, was about um, a blueprint to solidarity among reasonable Black people. Then my third book was called Accountable Masculinity, Identifying the Disciplined Man in You. And being divisive is also about being disciplined. You have to be honest with yourself about people that won't change. And that's like the hardest conversation to accept truth in is that, hey, these people won't change. And having been in the military, I had to learn that lesson early. You know what I'm saying? And then sometimes it came back up later on, and I had to remember, the choices you make um change the direction of your travel, and everybody can't go because that's in itself divisive. Everything's divisive. The way we think, the way we behave, and the way we treat other people. So when you said you gave me that sound bite to go off of, I was like, what I'm saying, I want to use that to lead the show so people can have, you know, uh, a good sound bite from you, and let it prompt a conversation. So what's up, man? Talk to me.
Yeah. So basically, there was a time, in the communities where there was a moral compass, and it was primarily based in Christianity. Now, I'm not a Christian, you know what I mean? But I support the teachings of Jesus. I support anything that represents righteousness. But what I've realized is that when we moved away from having that as a foundation for a community, this is when we lost order. Now, I'm not saying the way that we had order was perfect when we had Christianity as the root, because there were some issues, right, within that way that the structure was maintained, and that's debatable. But what I'm
Mhm.
saying is, when you have a culture where anything goes and there's no parameters on what's right and what's wrong, what it does is it creates destruction. And that's what we're seeing. And not only in the Black culture, actually in American culture in general. If you pay attention to what's accepted today as normal, it's pretty degenerate. And until we can recognize that and admit that, nothing will change in the community. You understand? So the question is, if the foundation is no longer the Christian religion, what is it? What did it need? What does it need to be? Now, this is where I'm bringing forth heart space culture. Now, heart space culture is a movement that I'm going to implement soon that's based off of love, honor, integrity, and respect. Now, if those foundational principles, those pillars resonate with you, then I want you to be a part of it and to put your own uniqueness on top of those foundations. Because it's not about trying to control people and move in a certain way, but you have to have some type of foundation to guide you, to keep you in a streamlined way of operating in order. If you don't have parameters, you're all over the place. You understand? So we need some type of agreement. Now, I don't know if heart space culture can be that. Maybe it can for a certain group of people. I'm not sure, but it's my intention to create an option that could potentially ground in a foundation that can give us the parameters we need to stay within balance and harmony.
Yeah. I felt the same way, like our conversation we had about a couple of weeks ago.
Mhm.
Um, you know, and that's why I say like the first book was about reasonable people, what I'm saying, being in a conversation. First and foremost, if we want to solve a problem, we got to put our emotions in the right prioritization. You know what I'm saying? We need people that think before they act. Like we need very, very simple, understandable laws
Mhm.
before we start talking about who's supposed to be working together because everybody can't go. Okay.
Right.
That's the first and foremost. We have to figure out who can afford to be here and who gonna cost the most to keep.
And at the end of the day, it all boils down to this simple equation. For anything to be built that can be sustainable, it has
Mhm,
to be built with a group of people who are emotionally and mentally mature. Okay.
mhm,
Being mentally mature means being able to create systems that are efficient, right? That make
mhm,
sense, common sense, things that can work. Being emotionally mature means being able to have conflict resolution skills, being able to read the room and know when it's time to make a decision that is empathetic, but not to the point to where all of the blinders are off. Because a common theme that I notice today is that people are over empathetic, right? It's people are over compassionate to the point where they'll let criminals into their like, it's okay, everybody come on in, right?
Bunch of
Come
enablers.
on in. We love everybody. Just like, and that's just not smart. You know what I mean? So you talk about being divisive. And when I speak about how important it is to, because I've been saying recently, we really have to separate now because there's a spiritual shift happening, right? And you can clearly see where things are getting so dark on one side that you have to walk away from it. You have to. You know what I mean? Like, if you have any ounce of wisdom and love in your heart, you can see where the darkness is and where you need to walk away from,
Right.
right? If you can't see it, you're lost. So at the end of the day, if people want to represent that dark side, that's fine. Go over there and represent it, but you can't sit at my table. Because if you can't recognize where the darkness is, if you come sit at my table, you're going to let darkness in,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
If you're wise and you're sitting at my table, we're gonna protect the table by setting the proper boundaries so those dark forces can't get in to dictate what we're trying to build.
Right.
You understand? So people will get offended when I say there needs to be a split and like minds need to come together. Unity can't happen between everybody. That's just a fantasy, okay? And then I bring this point up. I say, listen, you got a group of friends, don't you? Everybody has a group of friends. But guess what? You chose that group of friends, right?
Yep.
You chose this person. Everybody's not your friend. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Because
Because everybody don't have the common interests that you have. Everybody don't walk with the same moral principles that you have. So it's micro to the macro. If it's like that in your friendship zone, you don't understand how it should be like that in your community.
man, look,
It's the same thing.
it's the same thing. Because one of the things I always say is that we're all separated by behavior and activities. And you talk about um you earlier you mentioned the people that want everybody in the space and living in that fantasy and trying to make room for everybody. You people are enablers.
Mhm.
That's what messed everything up. Giving passes for degenerate behavior um has created this very conversation. And the people that don't like the judge are still making a choice whether they want to say it or not. If they're not picking a side, then they're still picking a side.
Mhm.
What an indecision is still a decision. You cannot solve a problem if you're sitting on the fence.
That's a
You cannot solve a problem if you're sitting on the fence. What you're doing when you sit on the fence is spectating. You're playing armchair quarterback. You're basically playing fantasy football, a fantasy version of whatever sport it is, and you're waiting to choose the side that you benefit from. And there's nothing wrong with that, but you need to be divided from the rest of the group. You know what I'm saying? Because those are the people that get mixed in. And when something becomes, I guess, less than comfortable, then they sit out. You know what I'm saying? And they make a decision to ride the fence and then judge you for the decision that you make and saying what they would and wouldn't do without ever making a choice to begin with. So those people are part of the problem too. They're really enablers because they don't hold any side accountable.
Yeah. And I will go on to say that, like, now I can see that there's two type of people who do that. You
Mhm.
have one sector of people who do that because they don't trust their own judgment, right? So they're in the middle, they're not sure. So they kind of judge where to go based off of what the majority does. Because since they're not confident in their own mind frame and their own judgment, they'll put the uh the decisions, they'll judge what decision they're going to make off of the majority since they're not confident in their own
Correct.
decisions. And then you have another sector of people who are the grifters. They sit in the middle trying to figure out what side can I get paid from?
Yep.
Whatever side is the trendiest, the most popular, where the wave is going, I'm gonna
Yep.
ride with that because I could get the bag over there.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? But
Right.
me as a man, I'm not in neither one of those categories. I'm just standing on what's right, period. So no matter where the wave goes, I don't sway. I'm right here with the in the principal stance. Like, so
Hmm.
if people swaying over there, I'm like this. And I've been like that since a kid, man. I remember when I was in junior high, when I saw when gangster rap came into the forefront and it took off, I
Hmm.
literally saw my peers be, like you said, their behavior started to shift, trying to match that behavior, but I stayed the same. And I was confused as a kid. I didn't understand. I'm thinking to myself, why is everybody changing? And I'm thinking to myself, you mean to tell me popular music has this much of an effect on my peers than it's making them act out of character? I was just sitting back watching it like, this is fascinating. You
Hmm.
see what I'm saying? So on that point, years later, I'm in a space now where I'm realizing that because I'm conscious enough to see these patterns and understand the psychology of people on a major scale, I
Yep.
finally realized how important it was to eventually roll out heart space culture. Because what I realized is that if you have enough talent, uh, unique marketing skills, and the proper budget to create content that's so high level, that has no choice but to be impactful, that's actually what people need to be socially engineered to see what path to take. Most people can't see it for themselves, unfortunately. This is why most people need religion. Most people need some sort of religion because as an individual, they can't recognize the principles. They can't witness and observe nature and see what's right and what's harmonious, what's efficient on their own. So they need guidance.
Yeah. They have a hard time marrying the subjective with the objective.
Exactly.
The subjective is anything that you can make up and anything that you can create from within. You know, that's when some people will, like, if somebody looked at an objective fact, let's just say the color's blue, and somebody says, well, it looks a little periwinkle to me. I say it's more cornflower. you know,
Mhm.
is it blue? Now we can deal with the variation of blue later. You know what I'm saying? But objectively speaking, we see that the color is blue. So even down to the simple things, that is a major indicator of how a person thinks, how far a conversation is going to go, and then if we're trying to have a conversation and we can't even get past, we almost have to have two-factor authentication before we even have a conversation about something. Because it's like if I have to add, if I have to ask you um something that should be objectively easy to answer, like like I used the color. If we're
Mhm.
gonna have a back and forth about if the color's blue or not, there's a bunch of stuff I already know I can't talk to you about.
That's just like if I ask you what is a man or what is a woman and you can't answer.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
is like, come on, fam. Like, I'm not even debating that. Like, it's just too
yeah,
stupid. That's like debating whether water is wet or not. Come on,
yeah.
fam.
You're not gonna
Let's
make, because therefore I have to question myself, and I'm not doing that. I've been certain of myself since I've been in the world. Why do I have to play and participate in someone else's subjective reality when we're talking about something that's impactful for both of us? People, that goes back to that over that saturation of empathy,
I was just about to say,
that
yes.
all of the enabling that's been taking place, just because the enabling was um like necessary in your upbringing or was a major part of your upbringing. One of the things you have to understand, that nobody has to accept anything from anybody. Nobody owes you anything, and nobody's coming to save you, which comes back to, as men, we don't have any allies. And I say that because we largely live in a matriarchal society. There is there are no privileges for men. And what I mean is, it's like there is no benefit of the doubt. Now, financially, yeah, but overall, a man with money, even if he ran into some hearsay and somebody lied on him and he got locked up, you know what I'm saying, on some hearsay or had to deal with a whole bunch of legal stuff. And we've seen plenty of men get lied on by women, by whatever situation you think of, right? That man still have to pay. There's a tariff on your freedom.
Mm.
The man still have to pay just to say he was innocent. And there's never an apology that's going to be as loud as the accusation of anything. There's no room for a man to even defend himself. A man has to even defend himself. Even a man, when he speaks on behalf of himself, has to be tone policed. So when you come down to the back to the topic about being divisive, we've already been divided. We've already been sliced out of whatever equation there is. There is a designated role of expectation through entitlement and being enabled that men are expected to feel in society no matter what.
And on that note, I want to say this, and this is something I'm going to teach my son when he's old enough to understand. Okay. So this is for all the young men and the young boys. If any young men and young boys are watching this right now, I need you to really pay attention to what I'm about to say. You have to start working on your reputation as a man right now. Okay. You want to always do the right thing. I know nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect, but try your best to do the right thing and treat everybody the way you want to be treated and be consistent with that. Always be fair. Be consistent with that. Always be on time. Be consistent with that. Because what you'll do is you'll create a track record. So later on in life, when someone tries to set you up and say you did something foul, people will literally come to your defense. I'm speaking from experience. Okay. I've had people try to accuse me of this and that. And guess what? Women came to my defense. Men have come to my defense. Jay, come on, Jay would never do that. That's because my reputation protects me in a sense. Now, you can still get caught up in something where somebody accuse you and something crazy can happen, but it's better to make sure that your reputation is airtight, as tight as it can be, because that will help you out in the future, along in your adulthood.
Absolutely important. Actually, the importance of that message goes right along with this right here. When we talk about having rules and boundaries, right? This one is rule number 4 of accountable masculinity, legacy, and equity. Live a life of service towards your community and others. You must be credible and capable of both mentoring and being mentored. You must be receptive and coachable. So everything that you said fits into being mentored and being able to mentor, and then teaching the value of your reputation. It comes down to being receptive and coachable, because if you got somebody that can't receive the message and they don't recognize the level of game that you're giving them that's going to protect them down the line, then they're not going to likely respect mentorship from anyone. They're not going to give it to anyone, and they're going to lead a very destructive life, because once your name gets caught up in the wrong conversation, it is very hard to get out. Very hard to get out. You have to do, there have to be a lot of disclaimers before you can even deal with, what everybody else, before you get to the topic, you got to get through the rumors.
Because you could have been a person that was completely degenerate and out of pocket in your earlier adult life, and then you and actually changed, but that will tarnish your reputation still.
Yeah.
You will not have the benefit of the doubt. So this is why I'm gonna teach my son how important it is to make sure that your reputation is airtight. And how do I know this? Like, where did I get this from? From watching my father. My father, if somebody tried to accuse my father of doing something foul, everybody would be like,
Yeah.
he wouldn't do that. Same thing with my little brother. I have a little brother. Same thing. If you try to accuse him of doing something crazy, people are going to laugh at you. That's how tight all of our reputations are.
Right.
You understand? And I see how it works. I see the respect that my father gets from being that honorable man. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a respect that comes with that.
And when you don't have a father or men in your community that represents that honor and walks with, because see, these kids are not seeing examples of men getting that respect for being honorable. There's
That
no reference point. And this is why I want to create movies, right, that have characters that show these kids the reference point because they can't get it in their community. So I'm going to give it to them within content, music videos, movies, music. So when they see it in the film and they see the reaction, and it's going to be a real reaction to how people would react, they'll be like, oh, so if I act like that, I'll get respect like that? Yes. And this is why I'm shifting from just being a spiritual teacher to becoming what I call a healing artist, because I realize that these young people need a reference point to see in action how the principles play out. And I could put it in a story form. This is why parables are in the Bible, because stories stick to you deeper than me just saying something to you with wisdom. It'll get to some people, but if you put it in a story, it's going to reach more people because it's more digestible. Because you learn through osmosis by witnessing the action and the reaction, action and reaction. You witness it. But unfortunately, for so long, through Hollywood and other media, they have been creating this content that's given us a false reality of how things actually play out. Because in real life, things wouldn't happen like that because they're not basing it off of natural order. They're giving you a scenario that's not aligned with reality, and you think that's how reality is, and it's based all in fear. So you go out in the world thinking that reality is like that and reacting how you saw in the movie and putting yourself in situations that are chaotic.
man, very very true. Like earlier, to add to that point that you just made in that sound bite, you spoke about like the inception of mainstream gangster music, right?
Mhm.
Gangster rap, and how you witness people's behaviors change. And you know, for those that didn't flake, you know, were unaffected by it, because we understood what the difference between entertainment and reality.
Mhm.
When you don't have that man in the house, music becomes a parent. It becomes a guardian. It speaks to, it gives a plan. You know, it gives some sort of structure to the thought. It validates, enables, and makes it easy to emulate something that you can relate to. You know, because it feels comfortable, like you feel seen. And then in other ways, it's like that was a great movie in three to 5 minutes. You know, whatever the song was or is, and somebody, we could listen to the same song, you might take a completely different lesson out of it. You know what I'm saying? Some parts of it may gravitate to you differently. You know, and because like I'm not perfect. I'm not what everybody would deem as being perfect. Hell, I still love drug music. You know what I'm saying? But it's entertainment to me though. I can see the motivation, the story, the hunger, and everything that's behind it. You know, um, because I like art in all forms. You know, now how it impacts people, that part of the game has to be told too. So I'm very selective about who I listen to as well. Because a lot of people, there's plenty of artists that leave the story open ended, but there's plenty of artists that close the end of the story, but those artists don't get the same burn. You see what I mean?
Mhm.
There's plenty of artists out here that will tell you the consequences of what they're doing, and they're just telling you what they did and why they did it.
Okay,
And
I
it
want
was
to ask. Oh, go ahead. Finish
good.
your
No,
thought.
yeah, no, but it takes years to be able to discern that. And I was always interested in why music, that art form of communication and expression, hit so much different than what's on the film. You know what I'm saying? So does the film inspire art? Art obviously imitates life, and life imitates art. They one and the same. They represent pieces of stories that get expanded. And truthfully, what you're watching on screen and what you're listening to on film or listening to in music form, you're listening to the exception. You're listening to the most utopian version of that particular story, like nothing else went wrong, you know. But they don't tell you enough about the bad parts, or the ones that do tell you about it don't get the same level of popularity. But what do you got to say to that?
Um, what I'm gonna say is this, because a lot of people bring up that point that, well, you know, we talk about gangster rap or this degenerate music that's out today. People watch Terminator and they kill a lot of people in Commando and things like that. Here's the difference. Now, both influence on a certain level, but here's the difference between film and music. I'm gonna explain why on the scientific level and on the subconscious level. When you're listening to music, first of all, we listen to it more. We're in our car playing it. We're walking, listening to our headphones. So we're playing it more over and over and over again. It becomes hypnotic. And when you use 808s and a lot of bass, that stimulates your lower chakras, right? So if you put negative messages of fear with bass, the fear is hitting your root chakra too, which is survival, right? Then the bass is keeping you there. So if what's happening is, and here's the thing, I want to make this point. Most people are not strong enough like you and me to not be influenced by outside forces. Your average person is going to be extremely influenced by their environment. We're influenced by our environment too, but we are conscious enough to be able to make individual choices more than your average person. So I want to make that point before I go on. So when you have people who are not critical thinkers, who are not comfortable with being an individual, and they're getting pushed all of this music and it's the bass and it's the negative messages, they may not go out and rob nobody, kill nobody. But I'm gonna tell you this, even when I used to listen to hardcore hip-hop back in the day, like Mobb Deep, I got a story. I was never in the streets like that. I had friends that was in the streets like that, but I wasn't in the streets like that. So I used to listen to Mobb Deep and all that. So when I first moved to Atlanta in 99, I used to always be like this, and I didn't even know it. And people like, Jay, what's wrong with you? Why you mad? What you talking about? That music and the energy from that music had my face like this, right? Because when you listen to it, what you do?
Yeah,
My face was permanently scrunched up.
yeah,
You understand what I'm saying?
right. Because
So,
my put you in a mood.
right. You feel what I'm saying? And even back then, even though I wasn't running the streets, it was part of me. I want to hear that hard. If it ain't hard, that's weak. That's soft. You know what I mean? I want to hear that harsh. So it affected my energy in a sense too. So now I still like you. I like to cut on some old school G-rap every now and then, but I can only listen to about 3 or 4 songs. I gotta cut off because my spirit is craving something more high vibrational now. So for the most part, I'm listening to music that's very calming because it's matching where my inner world is now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But I grew up on that hardcore hip hop, so every now and then I could go. Like if I have a drink, a little bit of poison, right? Have a little whiskey sour. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
You're not gonna drink it every day,
right,
because I don't want my face to be scrunched up like this again.
right.
You know, so what I've come to realize is, and see, saying this kind of sounds arrogant probably to your average person when I say things like your average person is not really conscious enough or secure enough within themselves to stand on their own without being influenced by the group. Most people want to be accepted by a group, whether it's Christian religion, the Black community, or the Jewish community, whatever you want to identify with. You're going to, okay, I'm gonna act like this, even though I don't like this or that, but I'm gonna do it anyway because I want to be accepted. See, I don't need that acceptance, but here's the thing: being a human being, that's part of our nature to want to gather and be accepted as well. But my thing is this: I don't want acceptance from a sick society. If our society was healthy, I would be all about let's. I'm still like that, but with healthy people. But unfortunately, we can agree that we live in a sick society.
Oh yeah.
So if we live in a sick society, that means the majority of people are sick, mentally, physically, and spiritually.
Yep.
So the only solution that I see is to do what I'm talking about doing, reverse social engineering through art that's so dope and so high level that you can't turn away from it.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. Um, we we agree that we live in a sick society.
Mhm.
And then there's plenty of people that would, let's just say, downplay it and say, uh, it's not as bad as it looks. It's just because we got cameras now. And I hear that and I'm like, that means it's actually worse than what it is because we can see more at the same time and still downplay it. And on top of that, we were already in belief that nothing else was really going on. Like we were completely delusional about a lot of things. Like life was a utopia for a large majority for whatever people think. Like we have conflated a happy life with having a good time all the time. When the truth is, a grateful life has happy moments, but you you learn from your mistakes, you overcome, difficulties because life ain't perfect, people ain't perfect, and situations ain't perfect. There's too many things that you can't control that do not allow the world to be a utopia, you know? And and so when I see people um engaged in conversation where they're saying it's not that serious, I disagree. I think I don't think you can have it both ways. I don't think that you can look at the degenerate communication skills, the state of friction between children, the state of frictions between women, and the continued degradation of marriage in itself, whether regardless of race, and exponentially, those same variables impact Black people in a much different, you know, um, outcome, and it's not improving. I think it's actually worse than what people think.
I mean, it's obviously worse, and it's a couple of different factors of why. Okay, one of the reasons why it's worse is because social media rewards degeneracy. Look at Bad Barbie. How did she get a record deal? She got a record deal from being a degenerate on Dr. Phil.
You know, it's crazy.
How,
Before you even go there, right? This is how I know it's worse than what it is. Like you brought up Bad Barbie, and I was like, who is that? You know what I'm saying? There's so many people that are unknown to a large group of people that have impact that we would never understand. So that's why I know it's worse.
if you look at the Hawk 2 girl, right?
Oh yeah.
How did she blow up? She blew up from talking about spitting on that thing and got a podcast and made millions. So that wasn't happening before social media.
It's
You
crazy.
understand what I'm saying? Look at how did Kim Kardashian and Ray J blow up? They leaked a sex tape. So you
Yeah.
can't sit up here and tell me that it's not worse. People are literally like putting out degeneracy, hoping to get sponsorship and deals because that's the wave these young kids see. Oh, that's how you get the bag. You do something so outlandishly degenerate to get attention, and then you get the bag. So that's one reason why it's worse. And then another reason why it's worse is because we don't have elders in place that stand up and hold the community accountable. We have elders today who sit with the degenerate ones that's getting the bag and take pictures with them and get bags with them, knowing that what they're representing is poisoning the minds of the youth, but they don't care because they want to get the bag from the poison too. If Malcolm X was alive today, you don't think he'd be banging on his music and all this degeneracy?
Man, look, easily. I I, I believe that if Malcolm X and Martin and any other voice of unity, I guess you could say, and equality and unity and equity, I believe that they would be influencers.
They will be saying what we're saying.
They would be saying what we're saying
They will
easily.
be saying what we're saying. Now, here's the ironic thing. you got people who praise Malcolm X and Martin Luther King today, but will attack us for saying what they would say.
Man, that's crazy, ain't it? That's
Make it make sense.
man.
Oh, you just hating, especially if I say something about the black community. Oh, you just hating, you a coon, you a bootlicker, you a sellout. It's like, fam, it's 2025. We're not living in Jim Crow. Let it go. I understand racism still exists. I understand there's still some systematic things going on. You know what I mean? In my opinion, the way gangster rap was put out, that was systematic racism, but it's two sides. See, here's the thing that people don't want to talk about.
Come on.
Or with the corporations who funded it. They corporations, they funded it and they did this. But who purchased it? Who purchased it? You can't sell a product if it's not a customer.
Well,
you didn't have to buy it.
And on top of that, I would argue this. Let's just say we agree that white supremacy is always going to be a thing. You know, whether it's something that we can ask, say improve or shape into a theory for some people or not, right? There's going to be a conversation that can either be quantified through data, research, and anything else. And at this stage, if you're participating in perpetuating the very things that that you believe your oppressors used to do to you, and you're doing it to your own people, you're complicit now.
That's a fact.
Like,
oh, you a coon, Victor.
Yeah. Hey,
you a coon.
Hey, go and get my Davy Crockett hat then. You know what I'm saying?
Hey. Yeah, so isn't it ironic though that the father energy that's not in the community, this is why people can't absorb and feel the love from that criticism. Because the father energy, because a father sits you down and says, son or daughter, what you're doing right now is destructive. And you have to stop doing that. I'm telling you this because I care about you, because I love you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? But when you don't have people who love, when you don't have a masculine frame in your life that's firm enough to sit you down and tell you this is destructive, son, and I expect better from you. When someone else does it because you're not used to experiencing that type of love, you feel attacked.
Yeah, man. You said the father energy. I was getting ready to write a question and highlight it, right? Do you think the feminine energy in our culture, or it throughout, do you ever think that the feminine energy could ever someday complement the masculine energy?
Yes, but here's the thing.
What? And tell me how.
It won't happen until men stop simping and step in their ground and feel comfortable with not being accepted by women. Because here's the thing. I'm not living my life trying to get approval from women. See, too many men are not standing in their masculine frame. They don't know how to. So the only way they know how to get close to a woman is by simping and putting them up on a pedestal. Now, I went through a phase where I used to put women on a pedestal. I did in my younger days. And I had to go through the lesson to realize that what I was doing was stripping me of my own power. Mm-hmm. Right? So until enough men stand up and be like, you know what? We're not supporting this chaos. We want order. And if y'all women don't cut out the nonsense and stop doing all this nonsense, this whole culture stuff, we not rocking with y'all. Mm-hmm. Until we all stand up collectively and do that. Because if we do that as men, the women go switch it up. Like, oh, it's kind of happening now. I'm seeing a lot of videos where, why are men not approaching us? Why? So nature is taking its course to shift things back, right? Yeah. So I believe, with all that being said, and I said this, and I'm gonna go on record and say it.
Go ahead.
I predict, this is 2025. I predict by like 2027-ish, you're gonna see a subculture of traditional wife energy pop up. You're gonna see a movement of women pushing this traditional wife thing, because what's gonna happen is there's a lot of men that's walking away from dating, for one, when you holler at a woman now, they might film you, put you online, and humiliate you. Number
Mhm.
two, men are afraid to approach women because they afraid they go say, "Look at this creep. He's trying to talk to me." Da, 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 da. Number three, too many women are making connecting about transactional connections. What you go pay my bills? You go. It's not about, oh, I care about you. I love you. I love your character, right? And this
Yeah.
problem is on the men's side too. A lot of us, we focus too much on a woman's beauty and their butt and their breasts, and we don't care about who she is as a human being. So it's faults on both sides. But all I'm saying is, until we can get to a place and as men, and number one, learn how to stand in our masculine frame, number one, right? Number two, not be so focused on just sex and that's it. Find a purpose, find a way to be constructive with your own gifts, right? And make that the primary thing that you do instead of chasing women and all these other things. And then see, we actually, us men, we got to understand we set the tone, and because we build structure. So we say, listen, this is how we build the structure, and y'all got to adjust to this. The women
Mhm.
have to follow. Then they can't build structure collectively. They're not going to do it. That's not in there. Some women can be leaders and operate in that way, but primarily men, we are the structure providers. We are the leaders. That's the masculine energy, right? Outward action. The penis is outward. The vagina is inward. You understand
Mhm.
what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. When you can look at nature, tells nature, the physical representation of nature tells you what the truth is. Just in that statement I said, the penis is outward. What do? We give the seed. We set the tone. The seed plants what? The structure for a child to be built. It's telling you right there what our primary energy is meant to do.
Yeah.
Right? The woman is inward, the vagina, they take it in, the inner world, nurturing the emotion, the feeling. That's the inner, it's inner, it's more inner primarily.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm saying. When you're not able to look at nature and learn from nature how to operate, because if you look at nature, anything that works in nature shows a level of efficiency.
True.
So that means then anything that you build has to be what? Efficient.
Mhm.
If you line up what you're doing with how nature operates, you'll be aligned with nature and you'll be aligned with God's laws.
Yeah. I think on this particular question, as it as it popped up, I think about that because I always look at the future. Like what's happening right now was what we're watching right now is the fruit of the past. We're like really ghosts walking around in our hopes and dreams, and people say you can't complain about um everything that you prayed for happening to you now. You prayed for whatever it is that you got in some way, shape, or form. Now, who you prayed to, that's something else, and who you hung around to manifest your current situation based on your behaviors, what activities you've been around, all of that stuff in the past has materialized now. And keeping with the concept of, like, I watch a lot of time travel shows and movies and stuff, right? If you go back in the past and make one tweak, it alters what happens down here down the line. And that is true in land navigation. If you've ever, I'm using some military talk right now, but if you ever pulled out a compass and shot an azimuth and tried to walk to a spot that you've plotted on the map, and if you're 20 feet off here, you might be 2 miles off by the time you get to where you're going. You see what I'm saying? So you made a slight left or a slight right 20 years ago, and this is where you are. So I say that because those that expectation that you have that in 2027 or 2028, just moving forward in the future, whenever it materializes, you're going to see a lot more connectivity, between man and woman, because they got too many optics on what's already happened in the past. Because right now in the present, yes, it's worse than what it looks like, but it's nothing that we can't fix either. Um, and it's going to require people making divisive choices. You know what I'm saying? Like those people don't move the way that I move. And I've seen enough in a short span of time to say, you know what? I need to be honest with myself about what I want. And there's plenty of examples that we didn't probably see when we were young, because the people that was the most messed up was the most visible, that were the prime people that was enabled, that fit the entire conversation of where we are right now, you know? And I think that the single parent community, I think all of the men and the women that share children together, I think those are the people that can heal the community if they made a choice to prioritize the kids.
I also think that there's a spiritual aspect to this as well. And that's the thing, like I'm able to look at life and see a lot of different patterns from the micro to the macro.
Yep.
Okay. So one pattern that I notice is this: once something reaches the highest point of chaos and destruction, it has to collapse. Right? Once it collapses, this is the rebuilding stage. So I'm saying all that to say that this podcast that we're having right now, this connection that we're having right now, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is the pre-setup for rebuilding once it collapses.
Yep.
So we're shooting out the beacon like the Batman symbol now, showing people it's almost time to rebuild, because your average person gonna say, "Oh, he just talking. We will see." 2027, yeah, right. But when it collapses, they're gonna remember what we said. And then when things collapses, that's when people start listening.
Yep.
For real. That's when they're like, "Okay, Victor, what was you saying again?"
Yep.
I'm scared. I don't understand.
I don't understand this.
Nothing looks familiar. Okay. And I'm gonna step up and like, this is what we need to do to rebuild. Okay. We need to set this up, these parameters, this compass, and this is how we can rebuild.
Yeah. I'm glad that you said that, because for me, writing is a big deal because it's planning, and you have to be, anything that you do with order and structure requires discipline.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you're watching our politics and how it's impacting conversation, like when I saw the reactions from Charlie Kirk's death, and there's been a stark difference between the people that are emotionally impacted by this, not even impacted, inspired by this to either be emotional or logical about it. There's people that think before they act, and there's people that act before they think. There's never been a time where it's this divisive, since the 60s. Now, we've always been divisive. Now we're being, I think the intensity of how divisive we've traditionally been is just there. The edges are very sharp. I said when social media took off, I said, man, this thing is about to really, really segregate us again, truthfully.
I knew this was coming, though.
I did too.
I knew this was coming. And
I saw it.
I was preparing for it mentally way back in 2010. And the reason why I knew it was coming is because on a spiritual level, I just woke up and was like, hold on. Oh, things are about to start shifting. And that's why I started getting serious about doing my own self-mastery work, because I knew that it was going to be a split from the people who's doing the inner work and the people who are not, because I knew we were going to new territory. Right.
Yeah.
And I knew that the new territory we're going to is bringing everybody to a fork in the road. You can either choose to go where we're going to rebuild anew, or you can hold on to this old way that's dying and fall with it. Now, the people who fall with the old way that's dying they got another choice point now. Now they can choose to either rise like the phoenix through the fear, or choose to stay. Right? They're gonna have the people who still hold on to the old ways gonna have to make that choice. They're gonna either have to choose to rise like a phoenix to come to the new way, or just stay or be gone like the old way. You understand what I'm saying? So I know for a fact that I'm walking towards the new way, which is the ancient way, actually.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And many people don't understand us that it's the ancient way because we're so disconnected from nature. We're so disconnected from source that we
Mhm.
don't understand what it means to be natural as a human being.
Yeah. I think logic is natural. You
Yeah.
know, I think discipline is natural. I think it requires anything that requires more energy than in thought is probably if it requires unnatural energy to create the what I'm saying the mind and decision making point to go do something, it's probably an undisciplined thought.
And what's
Like,
ironic is we've been propagandized through the schooling system and through media to think unnaturally.
yeah,
And this is one of the reasons why so many of us are depressed is because we're not living
in reality.
we're not living in reality, and we're also not living from an authentic way of processing. We're processing through the lenses of ideologies that have been uh, put into our minds, that have been implanted. And what has happened is the implanting of these ideas have been dressed up as being intelligent and has been dressed up to get rewarded as a social status. People are getting rewards and accolade and social accolades for regurgitating programming that is not even uh, promoting a natural way of being.
Yeah, like
Then they get in their ego, and since they get all the accolades, I'm so smart, I'm educated, and all of their thoughts are not their own. They're all programming. And but they got a degree, they got a master's, they got a PhD. I'm so smart. But why are you depressed then?
yeah, like
You understand what I'm saying? Why is your life chaotic then?
mhm,
Why do you not have no inner peace? Why can't you sit in a room with no television on, with no music on, and just be then?
yeah,
Because your programming has put you in a chaotic state that you think is normal when it's not.
yeah. You were being groomed and prepared for a world that is not here.
You are literally living an idea of life that's not real in your mind, but it seems real because you get rewarded for perpetuating it.
Yeah, like the reality in your mind that you've been groomed to um make certain decisions to achieve the alignment of that world don't exist.
This is a
And
fact.
there ain't nobody at the finish line to cheer you on in reality, you know, not like that. Not unless you create it. Like
I'm oh, go ahead, finish it.
meaning one day, let's just go to the future, right? Like you said, everybody's gonna come back to heart space culture and accountable masculinity. Like they're gonna look at this conversation at some point or see something that reminds them of this conversation if they're watching it right now. And it's gonna be brand new to them, but we've written literature 10 years ago. We've been compounding these conversations and these findings. This is like a case study for us, going forward because we're prepared to still uh create equity in the solution.
Mhm.
Not I don't want to take credit for everything. I don't want to take credit for that. You know what I'm saying? I want to leave my mark the way it makes sense to leave my mark, you know? And if you don't get a whole bunch of people to shout you out until after you gone, that's just the cost of doing business. Like problem solvers are not in the public like that until it's time to be in the public. And that's what Charlie Kirk's death, what I'm saying, kind of echoed to me yet again, and it has nothing to do with race. It has everything to do with representation of an idea. A man standing on business is always going to be a threat to insecure people without a plan. Some people have a plan to do nothing but destroy.
And
They,
that's the thing. I'm glad you said about Charlie because when he died, the concept of race didn't even come in my mind when that
Mm-mm.
happened. The first thing I said was, oh, this was an attack against free speech.
First thing I said.
So I didn't even think about race at all. So it was just mind blowing to me when I saw all these people making it a race thing. And I was just like, I think y'all missed what this whole thing was
That
about.
was really, that was really an attack on you having a voice,
That's a fact. That's what it was.
because if they knock him off, anybody can get it.
That's a
And
fact. It was a fear tactic.
it's a. I said when that incident happened, I said that was an act of terrorism.
That's a fact.
They've said everything shy of that, and it is.
You don't think people are more or less likely to speak out and tell the truth now because that happened? You know, people are more hesitant now.
Yep, absolutely,
And that was the point.
that was the point.
That was the point.
And that is the dangerous part of it all, is that if they can't speak up. Now that's macro picture, right? And that's not anything that we haven't already seen before. But that's macro. Let's go micro with it. That is no different than the child that never gets heard by their parents.
Mm-hmm.
Like standing on that ability of that child to express themselves without reprisal and repercussions, and you know what I'm saying, and really just being emotionally bullied for being creative.
Mm-hmm.
And punishing them for having questions out of pure generous, pure generosity or pure curiosity rather.
Right.
And you get punished for being inquisitive, you get punished for having an opinion, for really doing what you've been called to do purposefully without hurting people along the way. We ain't talking about somebody that's got legislative authority. Anybody that can pass laws, yeah, influence is influence, man. But like, I look at things like there's nothing that you're meant to have in life that isn't gonna happen, that is gonna come to you without discipline. Because if you don't have no discipline, you don't have no work ethic, you don't have no trust, you don't have no integrity. Discipline is the foundation of all that. There's nothing that you add discipline to that gets worse. Unfortunately, but up until that moment, I used to say that. What I noticed though, if you add discipline to everything that produces good fruit, what gets worse is your protection.
Mm.
So you can't even do the right thing consistently and publicly without risking your life. So that's why the attack on free speech, with his death being, people don't like it when I say it, but he's a martyr. He's a martyr for free speech.
Mm-hmm. That's how I saw it.
Yeah.
And I want to speak on what you said about parents and children, man. Unfortunately, a lot of parents, when they have a child who's very advanced, that asks great questions and is very curious, showing deep signs of intelligence, a lot of times parents shut that down because that child is literally threatening their idea of the world with those questions, and they're threatening ideas that they're overly attached to that has become a part of their identity. So with that being said, like with my son, I'm completely different. Like if my son, because I can learn from my son, right? I do learn from my son. So if he asks a question that makes me see something in a different way, I'm not going to punish him for that. He could actually ask me a question that shifts my perspective on something, right? And I'm open to that though, because I'm open to the truth, whether it comes from my child, a homeless person, or somebody I don't even like. It's not about, and that's the issue that I see a lot of people have. They're so focused on who's saying what, as opposed to focusing on wisdom when it shows up.
Yep.
Wisdom in itself is pure. It doesn't have a particular look, a particular smell, but it has a particular resonance. That resonance can come from your child. That resonance could come from somebody you don't like. That resonance can come from anywhere. But when you're not open to the resonance of wisdom and truth, what happens is you keep yourself contained in a limiting box, right?
Mhm.
That limits your experience because you're so rigid. I can only get a wisdom from a black person if I'm black. I can only get wisdom from a Jewish person if I'm Jewish. I can only get wisdom from a rich person because I want to be rich.
They don't know me.
And that's another thing, right? Unfortunately, the majority of people can't recognize greatness and won't acknowledge greatness unless it's connected to a lot of people saying that they're great and money. A lot of people, unfortunately, cannot accept something as being wise unless it's connected to a lot of other people saying that they're wise and they're making a lot of money. And that's the thing that causes a lot of discrepancies within a community of knowledge because too many people are basing who they listen to off of aesthetics. As opposed to, because for me, I don't care if you got money or not. If you say something deep, I'm like, yo, that was powerful. I don't care if 20 million other people said you were wise or if you got $2 million in your bank account. None of that matters to me.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, most people have been programmed to equate wisdom and greatness with a social status that is attached to financial status. And what happens is the grifters enter the chat and say, oh, I know how to get this bag. All I gotta do is make it seem like I'm smart and wise, regurgitate some shit from somebody else, excuse my French, and get up here and make it look like I got a lot of money, and people will think that I'm wise.
You know what I hear when you break that down like that? Remember 10 years ago, people used to be so mad at Fox News?
Mm-hmm.
People have become Fox News. They've become tabloids.
Mm-hmm.
And the very reason that people attach um, their identities to people that grift is fear. I think most people are fear mongering to each other. Like now, I don't even consider it to be racism anymore. I call it pattern recognition. Anything that ends in an ism or has an ist, whether you're feminist, feminism, racist, racism, chauvinist, chauvinism, isms, right? All of those things are named because they've appeared so much. They say, man, what are we going to start calling you? You know, like, what do you do? You know, like when you get a nickname, right? They give you a nickname based on some way that they capture your behavior. You know what I'm saying? Like, Jason always drinking coffee. We're going to call him Coffee Man. You know what I'm saying? You know, that's the way that's the way I see all of these other isms and is. And it takes pattern recognition for you to name something based on its behavior and its outcome. And when you look at who it triggers, you're like, oh, y'all really all living in the same state of fear mongering.
And you know what's funny? Do you know how many? I'm not gonna say any names, but you know how many times that I've brought up particular people when they first came out with their scam, and I called it a scam, and people attacked me for saying it.
Man, because
Especially if they're black. Oh, you a hater. 2 years later, the such and such was a scam. I mean, bro, like there's literally been, I could think of at least 3
easy.
circumstances where I've warned, no, 4 now, 4 circumstances where I've warned people about grifting. I'm like, this is a grift, it's a scam. Yo, you a hater. And they'll tag other people on social media and come and jump me, but they quiet now because I was right. Because I have extreme pattern recognition. It's easy for me to see y'all falling for the same pattern over, and it's the same pattern.
Same pattern.
Do you understand what I'm saying? When somebody is trying to teach you how to make money and they over project an image that makes them look like they're rich, they're grifting.
Yeah.
Period. Like, just all you had, what I just said right there, take that piece of information and put it on everything.
Oh, it's
You'll be right every time. Because
easy.
people who are really rich is wearing a black t-shirt like this and some jeans, and they're gonna tell you something about put your money in a trust and you dollar cost average. They're gonna give you techniques that you can be disciplined with to get there. They're not gonna make it look like a soap opera and oh, look in the house and you can be rich like this too. That's the grift, and people keep falling for it. And I just be sitting like, y'all don't see this by now.
Well,
It's crazy to me.
and that's the part that drives people that care about solving a problem into their own box, and we have to be comfortable there, and most of us are, in general. But like, what's true is that we got to do the opposite. We have to be uncomfortable to be productive too, you know, and you have to take a risk on being challenged as well. So all it does is just make you refine your craft. You know, I see division and conflict as an invitation to prepare yourself, because you're never gonna be without conflict in life. Now, recognizing which battles to pick is what your mission is. You know what I'm saying? It's what your responsibility is, especially if you're responsible for the caring, nurturing of other people. Like, you got a son, you know what I'm saying? I got a wife. So, like, I even down to the damn dog, I got to make sure that I do what I'm supposed to do so I can be available for those that depend on me. Versus the opposite, which there are plenty of people that's out there that sacrifice the people that they love for short-term fulfillment, the people that they love the idea of, because the way that they care about those people is only in their heads. People are really operating on the echoes of what they thought their parents actually were.
And on that note, I want to make a point.
Go ahead.
For all the young men that's
Mhm.
listening right now. I notice this pattern specifically. I'm gonna speak as far as the Black community. We have to let go of short-term thinking. Okay, everybody wants to be rich. There's nothing wrong with wanting to be financially stable, but when you approach attempting to be financially stable with short-term thinking, you're going to lose every time, because you're gambling and trying to get it quick. And when you're trying to get wealth quick, it's a sign of lack. You're trying to run to get it. That's fear. But when you learn how to invest in assets and you learn how to slowly build wealth, dollar cost average, you're patient, dollar cost average, you're thinking long term. People might think you're crazy. Look at what Jason's doing. That's stupid. Drown that out. You learn your craft on how to invest and you stick to it. You educate yourself about whatever assets that you're investing in, and you build. Slowly, you build, you build, you build, you build. And then next thing you know, boom, you just created enough money that works harder for you than you work for it. So we have to change our mind frame. We have to get out of this short-term thinking. We're so concerned about impressing people right now in the short term. I want to impress people. And that comes from insecurity. So we have to build up our secure nature to become more confident and not care about what people think about us, and do what makes sense and take our time. What tastes better, a TV dinner you put in the microwave or a slow cooked meal in the oven? Which one is going to give you the better nourishment? The meal that's cooked in the oven with natural ingredients, not the toxic poisons in a TV dinner. So use that same frame of mind when it comes to thinking long term. Okay? You want to think long term. We have to let go of the short term thinking. It's going to put you in a position that's going to fail every time. You got to let it go. That's all I wanted to say.
Yep. Man, people got to get out of their inferiority complexes, man. And I think it's okay to say, I need coaching, I need help, I need a different way to do something. And not every statement is a challenge to somebody else's existence.
Mhm.
Like how you respond to it is you expressing your disinterest or your discomfort with your own existence. Because if free speech is gonna keep getting challenged, then we're gonna have to really be honest about who's on what side. Because if because like think about it, right? Free speech gets challenged all the time in the black community, right? At a local level without nobody else's involvement. Okay, we could say proxy, manipulation, whatever. But let's just make it all about our choices. One artist decides to say something about another artist, and then somebody's getting shot because they can't handle what's being said. They can't regulate their mind. You know what I'm saying? Um, and their opinions or their perception of how they're going to be seen rules
Mhm.
their decision making, and that
That's
is
that's a major problem, man.
that is a huge problem.
It's a major
And
problem.
because I was talking to one of my friends the other day, he's a counselor, and we were talking about some of the topics that we discussed here, and one of the things we discussed, like the kids don't care about racism the way that older people want
That's
them
a
to care
fact.
about racism. Okay,
Mhm.
their biggest issue right now is low self-esteem programming that parents are putting into their kids.
Mhm.
Their parents telling their kids what they can't do long before they even try anything and fail. Like a lot of these moms are programming into their daughters insecurities right away and fanning the flames on it. He told me a story that this one girl wanted to be a real estate professional. Then she said, then he said, "Well, what's holding you back?" And she's still young. She's in the ninth grade, so she's not even trying to study. She's just expressing herself according to what he was saying. And he said, she told him that their mama told her that she's probably not going to be good at it because too many white people are going to keep her from
Wow.
doing what
See,
she's going to be. Imagine the level of intimacy and trust that you just destroyed with that child because she's telling you what her dreams are. Because a dream is an intimate thing to share with somebody, right? It's a lot of fear, insecurity in sharing that with somebody, just for somebody to step all over it and sweep it into the corner like some dust.
and that's what's sad because when you're a parent, this is why I always say extreme low self-esteem is the plague of humanity.
Yep.
That is the root of all of the problems in the world. It's an extreme insecurity that you can find will be the root. It's either people feeling like they're less than, so they got to suppress these people. It's always either individual extreme low self-esteem or collective extreme low self-esteem.
Yep.
So when a parent has extreme low self-esteem and they see a light within their child, they're going to try to diminish it because if that child becomes successful, it's going to make them feel more less than, right?
Mhm.
Which is very sad because when I sit with my son, I have him repeat back. I say, repeat after me. I am powerful. He'd be like, I am powerful. I say, I could do anything I put my mind to. Say it. I could do anything I put my mind to. I have him repeat that all the time. And I make sure I empower him because here's the thing. I want my son to be better than me. I'm
Mhm.
going to show my son all of the pitfalls that I fell into that he don't have to fall into. Right? That's what you're supposed to do as a parent. You're supposed to pass on the wisdom to your child so they won't have to go through a lot of the pain that you went through. They're going to experience their own pain, but if you can alleviate some of it with wisdom by showing them a way to navigate in an effective way, that's what we should be doing. And I'll be happy if my son ends up being a better man than I am. That's the whole point.
Yeah, it is. Your life isn't your own. Like, I get it. You're supposed to be comfortable with who you are.
And most of us are not. And
Yeah.
this is why we don't have healthy relationships. One of the reasons I'm gonna say why we don't have healthy relationships, because we don't have healthy relationships with ourselves. If you don't love yourself and you feel like you're nothing, how can you love somebody from a whole place? You're gonna create chaos that mirrors the fact that you don't love yourself. So if someone attempts to love you, you're gonna push him away because you don't love yourself, and you're gonna subconsciously say, I don't deserve this. That's what you're going to do. But when you love yourself, you honor yourself. When someone comes and love you, you embrace it because you know you deserve it. This is why we need mass therapy in the form of education. The reforming of our educational system needs to include concepts of teaching kids how to have high self-esteem, how to encourage them to think for themselves, show them how to have healthy conflict resolution skills, right? This should be embedded in the educational system, but it's not. As a matter of fact, on a subconscious level, our society teaches, it propels us to have low self-esteem because our whole economy thrives off of people buying products that makes them feel better about themselves. Think about how this economy would collapse if tomorrow we all woke up and had high self-esteem.
Man.
Nobody will be buying Bentleys to try to impress women. No, these women will not be getting Birkin bags trying to impress other women. Nobody will make purchases trying to uplift the image of self. The whole economy will collapse. So they need people to have extreme low self-esteem so they can sell up a whole bunch of junk they don't need to make them feel like that's what they need to be a better person.
You know what you just described is what I call traumanomics.
Exactly.
It's deeper than capitalism. It's
traumanomics to the core.
Yeah, like it has to trigger you. Everything has to upset you. Everything has to be an unhealthy competition. Everything's an insult.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's an attack. Isn't that a real hard life to live psychologically? Like, think about it. Like, who messing with me today? Who want to smoke? You know, and look, full transparency, I put out on social media multiple times, say, hey man, I want the smoke, man. Whoever got something for me, then so be it. Now, I'm not going around picking and looking for it, but I know there are some people that don't agree with some of the things that I say, and they would rather agitate, my comments and stuff online, but get out of my comments and get on camera.
Right.
That's what I want.
Let's talk. Let's see,
let's see how far
ideas hold up.
Yeah. Let's see how far you willing to go with this, because like, and if you don't want to do that, then you can always get this free invitation to the block party, because I ain't got time. You know what I'm saying?
Though, with that being said, man, I'm on a different wave now. That's why you're not gonna see me on a lot of podcasts and stuff like that, because if anybody invites me to come on a podcast, I'm gonna watch the podcast first to see what wave it is. Because
you need to see what's going on.
If it's not solution oriented, I'm not going on. If I know they're trying to set me up to attack me, I'm not going on. If I know they don't have a broad way to look at the world, I'm not going on. Because what are we doing? Like, if I come and try to speak to you from a broad range, but you don't have a broad range, it's not gonna be beneficial for the listeners. It's just going to be unnecessary conflict.
Yeah.
So a brother wanted to debate. Let's debate then live on Facebook. I was just like, for what? Like, first of all, your whole view is so off that, like, I don't have no stake in trying to prove that I'm smarter than you, because that's what you want. You see, when I have discussions with people, even if they have a different view, it's not for me to try to prove that I'm smarter than the other person. It's about us talking. So we can, because maybe there's something that I'm not seeing from your end that you might be able to show me to change my perspective, and vice versa. But most people don't come into conversations with that intention. They come in trying to win.
Yep.
Right? I want to win this conversation battle. I'm coming to word battle you. My thing is, I want to get to the truth. I want to unearth, maybe discover something that you might be able to show me that I didn't see. Or I might be able to show you something that you didn't see. That's the only way we can expand our way of being, is by having conversation with alternative points of view, like how Charlie Kirk was doing. Charlie was up there like, okay, let's just talk then, right? Mm-hmm. You got this view, I got this view. And when you watch a lot of those debates, it's very interesting. I learned so much from it because things are shared that I didn't know, right? Yeah. So that's the gift in people with conflicting ideas, is it should unearth new information from a point of view you didn't recognize before. But that's not what these brothers and sisters is doing these podcasts. They just trying to stir up a lot of drama and conflict so they can monetize and get the bag. And it's about all this and that. I'm going to be the next Kevin Samuels. I'm going to be the next whoever. And I'm going to be the popular one with all the girls. It's corny to me. I don't care about none of that.
Yep.
It's corny.
Man, there's no transferable leverage outside of, you know what I'm saying, social media on stuff like that. And if you do try to follow somebody else's footsteps, you're gonna flame out, you know, like, but if you're pursuing fame, you're already thinking about it for the wrong reasons. Because the truth is, social media, everybody's famous, but not everybody's everybody's either famous or popular, but not everybody is as successful as their fame and popularity, because you could choose to have a presence anywhere in any algorithm if you do it consistently enough, right? Mm-hmm. And there's multiple platforms where you can compare the two, because you can go on TikTok. This conversation probably be completely different in terms of engagement on TikTok. I know that for sure. But like, when I want to have like a straight on conversation, I think Facebook is pretty good and YouTube is pretty good. You know, that just a certain thing that how I wanted to be presented. But like, every platform has a different audience, or has different minds that watch it. Like, you on Instagram, man, you're gonna have a whole different type of reaction and response than you would on any other platform. Right. So when you got to find a way to have a conversation where the competition is removed, the unhealthy part of it.
Right.
And just attract those people that want to sit down and actually listen to some people that care about solving a problem.
Yeah, exactly. And my thing is, I'm not against being famous either. So I want to be clear.
Either. Yeah.
I want to be clear. It's not about that. It's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of people who are inauthentic, attempting to be famous, running with a narrative that they may not even believe in. And I can tell, because I'm intuitive. I can feel people's energy. I can tell when you're fake. Okay. So you can't fool me. So when you're not speaking from an authentic space and your intention is just to get the bag, to regurgitate these common points that somebody else made a bag on, is corny. That's all I'm saying. Yep. If you are being authentic and speaking from an authentic place and you become famous and impact a lot of people, I'll clap for you.
Yeah.
That's honorable. I look, I love that. But it's a lot of people on here that's fake, and they're turning being inauthentic into a career. And social media has become the grounds where you can do that. You could take on this fake persona and be fake and regurgitate somebody else's points and get the bag.
Right. Come on now. It's always there's always an agenda for every individual, because eventually you're going to say one or two words and I'm going to know your entire script, just like you said.
Exactly.
So that's why, like, when I brought up rule number 4 earlier, we need to be excited about doing the right thing, because eventually all of the goofy content, the inauthentic content creators that have a ton of influence, they're gonna make one mistake and they're gonna ruin everything. They're gonna pull the own rug from underneath them, you know, because eventually what you really are aligned with is gonna shine through because it's
I,
gonna
I
relate to
agree with that. That's
yeah.
true. And especially right now, like I keep saying, everything is being exposed. So I mean that it authentic. I feel like, and I'm gonna make another prediction.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same, I'm gonna put up the same year, 2027. By that time, I feel like culture is gonna shift to a point to where I feel like actually the younger people are craving more authentic content and more authenticity. The younger kids, they can see through the bull, man. Like these younger kids grew up on the internet, which means they grew up getting alternative information that's triggering a rabbit hole search, right? Like the boomers and the older people back,
They
they're
done.
all they do is get their information from a source that's completely propagandized. So there's no alternative information at all. How they see what's going on is not even reality, right? But these young kids, they know how to get online like I do and get the information, and they know how to investigate and be like, hold on, now this don't make no sense, right? So as time goes on, as they get older, and then you got people like you and me who are putting out authentic content as the elders, they're gonna have more respect for what we're doing, and then they're gonna follow that lead because they're not getting tricked by the propaganda.
No, their journey, uh, their journey to find answers to make their life easier is going to be one where they're going to have to sift through a bunch of information and know
Mhm.
what the truth is and what isn't. Because ultimately, a lot of these kids that's in the same age bracket that you're talking about, they can't trust their parents on an intellectual level. Because, man, every generation goes through that moment when they say, man, the version of my mom or my dad that I thought they were, they're not it. And it comes in micro moments. And sometimes it takes a long time to realize that that moment um it was speaking to you in the past and it's present again in the future. Like, and I always say this story, right? And one time, man, I thought my mom was better at math than what she was. And I was she helped me with my homework one time and I took a L. You know what I'm saying? I failed. That assignment was trash. And I was like, it's not that she's not smart at math. She just it's not her assignment.
Right.
And it's something that I'm supposed to do. So you got to be careful of who you asking to do your work for you.
And I want to say this, and this is me actually having compassion for the boomers, because think about it, man. They grew up in a time where they didn't have access to
They
alternative
they didn't
information.
have exactly like
So if we would have grew up in that time, man, I would have felt something was off, but I wouldn't have been able to actually get the countering information to prove it. So everybody could easily say that you crazy if you can't bring forth the alternative information to prove it. But now I could pull up receipts. You
yeah.
understand? And be like, look,
Hey,
look. So in their defense, it kind of wasn't their fault.
it wasn't their
You know
fault.
what I mean? But at the same time, but this is why now I don't try to convince that that age bracket. I just let them talk
I let them talk.
and try to and it's frustrating because I want to have compassion, but be like I'm so about the truth. It's like yeah, but I just don't discuss it. You know what I mean? I just let it go.
It's not my assignment.
You know what I'm
It,
saying?
it's
Because
literally
think about this, bro. Hello? Oh, you broke up a little bit.
yeah.
Like you
I'm
frozen.
I'm still here. It's not my
Oh, there
assignment.
you go. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I think there's a bit of a delay. Something happened, but um,
Okay, we good now. I think.
yeah. Like I'm with you. It's that's not my assignment to talk to them.
Mhm.
It's like literally up to them to decide what they want to take ownership of and become at peace with themselves.
Mhm.
Because part of the reason why, and when we talk about black people, part of the reason why black people are what they are because we are too good at arguing with each other,
Mhm.
experts at at cherry picking what happened and who else was responsible for it. But when you ask them, what's your plan? If you have a plan, I will get on board with your plan if yours is already able to be acted on.
Mhm.
Teach me what you need me to do to help you. Nobody has a plan, or they're not bold enough to really take ownership of it. You know, like when I see people tell me what I should be talking about, go make your own platform and discuss the things that you think I
Right.
should be talking
The
about.
audacity people be on my page too. Like, why are you talking like this? Or you spiritual. You shouldn't be acting like that. Listen, I'm a human being. Sometimes I talk shit. I got jokes. I got all that. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Hey, the word should is your expectation.
right, exactly. Your projection.
That's
You
your
understand what I'm
projection.
saying?
That word should is very dangerous because it implies that the other person should know everything that you want them to do. It implies that the other person can read your mind.
And on top of that, when people say that, I'm gonna translate what they really mean. Stop saying that because you're making me uncomfortable because you are poking holes in my reality.
Stop offending me.
Mhm,
Stop offending me. Stop making me relive my insecurities.
mhm.
Sorry, you can't change without it.
You're making me feel less than, and also you're
You're
making
judging me.
me rethink all of these things that I've overly attached to. Stop it.
Stop destroying my utopia.
Yeah.
Oh, it hurts. I don't care. Go go see it. Everything that hurts your feelings on social media by people that you don't know is a conversation between you and your therapist. You should take the very thing that you see on social media and take it to your therapist and say, your therapist asks you what's wrong and how did you feel and what's happened since the last time you sat down and talked to him. Well, tell that therapist the other thing that pissed you off. Ask the therapist, why do these particular Facebook content creators keep pissing me off and why do I keep following them? Ask your therapist that and see what
Right.
they
Why you keep falling? That's what I'm saying. It's like
say.
I don't go on people's pages and comment when I think they don't know what they're talking about. Like
Facts.
if you got mad people
Tell
coming
my
on my
algorithm.
comments to like try to like battle me. It's like, what? Just delete me, bro. Like it ain't you know what I'm saying? Like
And
if you don't fool what I'm saying, it's okay.
man, once somebody start making recommendations to me, they already on borrowed time. They got one because I already know when they start making recommendations, they already collecting information to see how they want to engage with me. They're trying to see how I'm going to respond. And they go down a checklist. Well, is he married? Does he have any kids? Does it what does he talk about? You know, and then eventually when they can't find a chink in the armor, no vulnerability or whatever, because I only talk about stuff that I can actually solve. You know what I'm saying? I only talk about things that I've already created a plan behind. You know, I only talk about things that I know I can stand on. So I don't play on social media. You know what I'm saying? I might, like you said, I might repost something that's funny, but I can laugh and not be playing. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm not on social media for the same reasons that other people are on social media because I had to look at it like this. We've been on social media, let's just say 10 years, probably longer, because MySpace was around in 2006.
Yeah, I was on MySpace. Yep.
See? Yeah, you know, and then um I think a lot of people started getting on Facebook in 2010 because I think it was out in 2009 or something
Mhm.
like that. And then you got Twitter and all the other platforms that kind of materialize. But regardless of platform, most people have been on social media well over 10 years. And we got to pick a side if you're going to be on it. You know what I'm saying? Because you're you're that much older now than where you were when you got on. And if the only thing that interests you is twerking, fighting, um, you know, low self-esteem behavior and making fun of people instead of like getting those people out your algorithm, that says way more about you and what you consume. Just like you was talking about earlier with the music, you know what I'm saying? How the 808 programs people, you know, and traps them in their fantasy land, negative or positive, you know, um, regardless of whatever it is, it traps them in their own echo chamber.
Mhm.
You are complicit with the degeneracy that we complain about or that we address. That's why every time you see something that triggers you, it's because it reflects what you really care about. It reflects where you came from. It reflects what you participate in. You probably got people in your life that do the same things that we don't co-sign, and it needs to be called out because it ain't healthy. And truthfully, women are more susceptible to being programmed than men are. There's been plenty of studies to capture this stuff, and you want to argue the nuance all you want to, but the women really have the authority, the social authority, to decide that they can stop everything they're doing to each other and focus on positive representation. Because I can't tell you the last time that I saw a classy woman.
Yeah, it's a cultural problem, and on top of that, when you're programming human beings through social engineering, it's all about tapping into emotion, and women are more emotional by default. But unfortunately, because of the lack of masculine energy in modern culture, a lot of the men are extremely feminine too. So they are in a space of being more emotional than your average man would be, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So they're more susceptible to being programmed as well.
Yeah.
And that's why, and I noticed that because there's certain men who may have an opposing view. And for example, if I'm speaking and then they just attack me with odd homonyms, and it's like, why are you attacking me? I'm just asking you a question.
Because he raised by his mama.
Because that's an emotional response. Like if we're having a debate about something we're not agreeing, I'm not gonna call you a name.
Yeah, come on, bro.
Like it's like I'm a grown soon as another man specifically starts calling me names, it's like the conversation over, bro. Because at this point, I know that you're too emotional. You're not staying in your masculine frame enough to be able to meet me in a place where we can actually speak like men.
Yep. He woke up that morning angry. You know how angry you got to be? I can't before if me and if another version of me and Jason was arguing with each other, it would look real crazy. It would look real crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like even on something that we might be diametrically opposed about, even in current view. And it's not because you're not right. It's not because anybody's wrong. Just somebody hadn't had the experience. You older than me.
Mm-hmm.
So you've had experiences that I haven't had. And even at ages older than me. I've had my own experiences that you haven't had.
Mm-hmm.
So right or wrong or indifferent, when we start breaking down what contributes to the dysfunction or the misunderstanding, ultimately come down to how do you react to what somebody else said?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're further away from understanding what the other person is saying if you're trying to insult them. You don't really want an answer.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Most people they don't want they want their they want their perspective embraced as
Validate.
absolute truth. They want that polite language. They want you to say the nice thing to them. But like you said before, the truth is just the truth. It's not pretty. It's not ugly. It's ugly if you haven't been living in reality. But if you've been really living in reality, you're just going to be open and receptive to whatever the truth is. Honesty isn't a bouquet of flowers all the time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because somebody can be honest and it might be disappointing. It might make you look at that person different, you know? And that's what it's supposed to do. It's all medicine, it's all perspective, you know? So when you think about these things and when you start getting the most resistance and then you start seeing other examples of that same behavior that you was just describing, that, you know what I'm saying, that a man would use ad hominem attacks, and the only men that move like that on a consistent basis is men that have been overmothered and
Yeah, that's a
underfathered.
fact. And those are men that you can't build with.
Oh, and on top of that, and to your point, you can't build with them, right? Other men cannot work with those men. Again, there's a huge divide here. But the women keep sleeping with the feminine men. The
Yeah.
women are reproducing their children with the feminine men, and then acting shocked when he acts just like the woman. He's competing with me. She got the same complaints about the man that she made her kid with that she got when she describing the other women that she don't get along with, and they still can't see it. Now, that is the harsh conversation that goes with the degeneracy of what we're talking about, right? Because when you start getting down into the behavior, well, where are these people coming from and who's grooming them? Why are they so defensive? Why are they so combative? Well, eventually, if it's the same energy, then it's got the same source. Doesn't energy have a source?
Mm-hmm.
Because in the masculine, you like observe, you think before you act. The feminine, you think, you act before you think. And the only thing that makes those elements compatible is the level of discipline that's applied to them emotionally. Because you can't get away from your behavior. You are your behavior. I don't care what people say.
That's a fact.
Because
And that's what I pay attention to. Like when people say I'm this and that, it's like, okay, let's see, because how you interact with me is going to show me who you are.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying? And most people, unfortunately, when it comes to conversations, most people are not invested in wanting to know the truth.
Mm-hmm.
It's all about, like you said, cater to my reality, even if it's not true. Validate my point of view, even if it's destructive. And that is such an unnatural way to be, you know. And my thing is this, right? Some people come to me, Jason, who do you think you are to say all this stuff? You think you know everything, right? So I'm gonna just say this. When I used to do self-mastery coaching programs with clients, which would be like a 3-month program, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not gonna get into details, but there's been plenty of times where we'll have a conversation. I see the root of what the issue is, and I'll suggest for them to do something to break the habit, which will get them to a point where they can heal the problem. Because once you break the habit that's reflecting the trauma, you ascend it. So this is what I tell them. I'm gonna suggest you do this. Now, here's the thing. You can be your own experimenter and experiment and try what I'm saying, apply it and see if it works or not. That's up to you. I know it's going to work, but you have to see for yourself. And there's been plenty of times clients apply it, like, oh my God, Jay, this happened and then this happened. Exactly. You see what I'm saying? So my thing is, when I say, if you build a life on love, honor, integrity, and respect, your life will improve. Don't believe me? Try it. Try it.
Mm-hmm.
Experiment.
Yep.
Okay? Because I don't have a lot of chaos. I don't create a lot of chaos, right? When people are around me, they be like, Jay, it's your energy. You just go, why are people saying this? Because I'm grounded in peace. I'm human. Sometimes I get angry. Sometimes I get frustrated. But for the most part, I'm grounded here. That's because I've done a lot of work. So I have tools that I use now that I can share with other people. And plus, I have a spiritual gift. I'm intuitive. When I could tune into people and put myself in their shoes and see what the issue is. And a couple of times I've had people do some things that sound crazy. I'm like, trust me, just do it. And then stuff starts unraveling. I'm like, oh my God, that worked. Yeah. So my thing is, whatever you're saying to the audience, whatever I'm saying to the audience, my thing is, if what Victor is saying resonates with you, apply it in your life and see if it works.
Yep.
This is the only way that you could become your own savior. Because I could talk all day and say all these things, but are you attempting to experiment with what I'm saying? Because I'm all about solutions. So apply it and see for yourself. Then it'll click. Oh, Jason's not just talking. Because there's a lot of people just talking, right? Nah, B. Apply what I'm saying and you'll see for yourself.
Man, you know, I I have a hard, I wouldn't say a hard time, but I'm very, very protective of my wife, right? As I should be. And she gives me my flowers all the time because she's my first client.
Okay.
And today she sent me a message saying she applied some of the, she took a page out of my book, you know, and applied it to a certain situation that she was feeling some anxiety in, and just demonstrated the patience that she would require, you know, to herself. And just positive things happen to her. You know what I'm saying? That, like, I'm paraphrasing the text, but um, and if you can't do that in your own home, you can't do that for yourself, then you're gonna miss everything. Nobody can bring you that. Because so just like what you said, if you're triggered by something, it's probably telling you to try a different direction. You know, like J. Cole had a line where he said, the good news is that you came a long way. The bad news is that you went the wrong way. That's a lot in just that, you know, because you can look like you're doing the right thing and you're making progress, and you are. But what is what is the basis? What is the agenda associated with you making progress in a particular direction, right? Are you doing it for the right reasons? Because if you turn around and long, it's gonna be a long road back. But you're gonna have to make the correction anyway. So all of these reactions that people have when they either read what I write or hear what I say, and they try to match them up or whatever, that's not my problem. It's theirs.
And you know, I think it's sad. What I think is sad is a lot of people don't realize that what I'm sharing is coming from a space of love. It's because I care about people.
Right.
That 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 kind of, it's like, wow, they really can't feel that I really care.
Nope.
They really can't feel that. And another thing I want to say is that here's the question, right? This is the hard part of doing self-mastery, you know, when you're
My
working on
boy,
yourself.
before you go there, my boy Jeremy Banks says chaotic energy hates it, good energy and great work.
Word.
Man, look,
That's a fact.
that's a fact. Yeah, shout out to Jeremy too, man. Appreciate your support too.
That's a fact.
Yeah. We'll
And
go.
oh yeah, the question is though, are you willing to be accountable with yourself and to actually admit that the chaos in your life has something to do with you? See,
Man.
that's the hard part. See, a lot of people, and it's a painful process. Like, you have to really be I guess I could say brave in a sense, because it hurts when you have to say, I'm messing up, right? It's like you feel a pain inside, like it's like you're embarrassed with yourself. Like, I can't believe. See, I'm able to do that. I'm able to be like, damn, it's my fault. I'm messing up. I gotta change that. And it doesn't feel good. And the problem is, okay, it's just like when you're lifting weights, right? When you first start, your muscles are hurting. Like the first week, you're in all kind of pain. But guess what? You know from lifting weights, if you don't keep pushing through it, you're not gonna build no muscle. It's the same thing when you're doing inner work. When you're looking at yourself and you're saying, dang, I'm causing this chaos in my life, and you feel terrible and you feel ashamed of yourself, this is you building that inner muscle. You still don't stop. Don't let that feeling stop you from doing what you need to do to address the fact that you're part of the problem and change the problem. What happens is people can see that they're the problem, and they see it and they feel that pain of the shame within, and they run from that. No. See, that's just like running. That's just like lifting weights for 1 week and stopping because your muscle's sore. You ain't gonna never build no form.
Yep. And nobody's gonna run behind you just because you run away. I'm gonna let you die.
Exactly. It's like, fam, like, and that's the problem, bro. It's like you can't grow in strength internally if you're not willing to face the fact that you're part of most of your problem. It's something you're doing, it's something you're choosing, it's a way that you're walking, it's something that you're doing that's contributing to your pain in most cases. Not all cases, but in most cases, it's you. Oh, this relationship I was just in, this person did this to me, they did this to me, they were so disrespectful. Why'd you choose them? Let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Why did you choose them? I'm gonna tell you why, paraphrasing a root. You chose them because you chose them from your pain. You chose them from your shadow. But guess what? When you take responsibility for your choices and you say, I chose that person that hurt me because, oh, what is it? I need validation from women. Whatever the reason is, and you say, you know what? I gotta stop needing validation from women, and I'm gonna take a stance to stop needing validation. Guess what happened? You start attracting different kind of women because a man who needs validation from women, when you walk through the world, you give off a scent to women who can pick up on the fact that you need validation, and they're coming to take advantage of you because you give off that scent. But guess what? When you stop giving off that scent of being insecure, they go walk right past you.
Yep. Because you don't look like a sucker anymore. You
Exactly.
like food.
They
like,
can feel it in your posture.
Yeah.
What you say. Oh, he needs validation. Let me take advantage of his ass.
Yeah, you a duck, you know.
Right.
Like you a cook and a duck. You easy to see. And that's why like men that like to perform are no different than the women that like to perform for attention. And that's why they attracted to each other, because they ain't nothing but the shadow insecure version of themselves kicking it with each other. You cannot be romantically involved with anybody that has self-esteem greater than you. And the only thing that validates that is who's willing to leave. You know what I'm saying? Well, if you're the one that endures the embarrassment, or if you inflict it, if you're doing harm to each other, if you're accepting harm or giving harm to somebody that'll accept it, your self-esteem. You're doing something to that person that someone did to you and made you accept it and made you powerless. Because ultimately, when you feel good about yourself, you don't have time to think negative about anybody else. You wouldn't schedule manipulation. You know what I'm saying? Like you're too busy trying to curb your emotions or really taking ownership. Because when you mentioned, like taking accountability, right? I don't talk. I got to the point now that word is so it's discussed so much. I don't talk about accountability without discipline because it's just a performance. You have to take ownership of your behavior. That's it. You're not responsible for your circumstances, but you are responsible for how you react to them and how you respond to them. So nobody can make you feel some kind of way. Some people are performing according to your self-esteem.
And this ties back into the topic of this subject, being divisive. Here's the thing. The healthier you become, the more you're able to see healthy people to choose as partners, whether we talk about business relationship, romantic relationship, friendship, etc. Unfortunately, because we live in a sick society, the majority of people are not healthy. It's a minority. So therefore, it's almost like you become more isolated the more healthy you become.
Yep.
Which is unfortunate. So if culture shifts, like I believe it's going to start shifting into becoming more healthy, it will become more of a majority to see healthy relationship, healthy business partnerships, whatever, what have you. Everything that we're seeing happening when we seeing all these business relationships in the social media that's toxic, all these toxic relationships we see among us in our communities, it's all reflection of how unhealthy we are as a whole, as a society, right?
Mhm.
So people who are healthy enough to live a life without creating constant chaos, they have some form of grounding and some form of harmony to where when you're around them, you feel comfortable and they're not projecting all the time. Like those type of people are the people that have to start leading at this point, because everything that's toxic is collapsing. And those who are going to build on top of what's collapsing are the healthy minority, which will eventually lead to the healthy majority.
Man, absolutely, man. That's a great note to end the conversation on, man. So I greatly appreciate you taking the time to come bless the platform and, make it make sense, you know, because a lot of times what we write gets lost in translation,
That's true.
misinterpreted, um, and no different than a bite. It's easy to take a couple of sentences and wrap. It's easy for someone to take their trauma and wrap it around a couple of sentences from an opinion that they don't have all the information on, and make it about them.
Mhm.
But also it just shows you that it's also effective, So I greatly appreciate the work that you have already embarked on, because we need many, many more platforms that speak on healing
Mhm.
and realignment too, with honest feelings, because bruh, honesty ain't gonna always be a pretty bouquet of flowers. It ain't gonna be something that feel good, ain't gonna be something that tastes good. It's not
The
gonna even
truth
be
does
fun.
not care about how you feel. The truth is the truth. And I choose to align with it even when it hurts me.
Yep.
And on that note, I gotta go too. I
Yes,
got
sir.
I gotta be out. But I want to say before I go, I
Let me
appreciate
put you up
the work
here.
that you're doing. And am I still on? Oh yeah, I appreciate the work that you're doing. And thank you for having me on, man. And I appreciate having a mature conversation. And I hope people got something out of this conversation.
Well, absolutely, man. And if they didn't, that's on them. Go, hey, take this to your therapist if you didn't get anything out of this. Go find out why it triggered you. We
Right.
out. All right, folks. Appreciate you sticking with me to the end. This has been another episode of Beyond the Algorithm. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Go get the book. And most importantly, I will see you beyond the algorithm. That's where life actually happens.